What a nice day it is today, and I'm out today for my first time with a new lens that I've just purchased. I'm hoping to do some wildlife photography, and it's this lens here. It's the Fuji 150 to 600mm lens. This is going to be my first shoot and I'm really excited to try it. There's a strong wind today, so it's going to make things a little bit challenging for me and perhaps some of the wildlife and birds if I see anything nice to capture. Fuji have also recently released the XH2S camera and partnered with this lens. I'm sure it would do a fantastic job, better than my camera body, of tracking birds in flight and being able to focus quickly on birds in flight. But I'm using the Fuji XT3 today, and I'm sure that's going to do the job for me and I'll still be able to capture some nice photographs. So let's head on and see if I can find anything, and I'm excited to give this lens a try. Previously, before purchasing this lens, I owned the Fuji XF 100 to 400mm lens. That is a fantastic lens, so why have I switched to this one? There are a number of reasons, but to summarise my main ones, the first is the extra focal length, 600mm on the new lens versus 400mm on my previous lens. Often with my old lens I would use the 1.4 times teleconverter, but I won't need to rely on that as often with this new lens. Also, even with that teleconverter on the old lens, the new one offers a tiny bit more focal length without one. Another reason is the internal zoom on the new lens. I always prefer an internal zoom on my lenses if possible. An internal zoom offers a number of benefits, such as hopefully better resistance to dust in various weather conditions. It should also make the lens better balanced. So I've been having a look around and I've ended up photographing something which I definitely didn't think I'd be photographing today. And as I was walking along looking at my feet, I noticed these dragonflies, a beautiful blue colour, and I believe they're an emperor dragonfly. So I've been giving the lens its first test, photographing these small insects, which is something I never thought I'd be doing. It's really quite challenging because of the minimum focusing distance on the lens, so you need to stay back. There's a few just off in front of me here, but I've been trying to get a nice composition, but because it's so windy you need to use quite a fast shutter speed because the blades of grass and so on that they're resting on really are swaying around a lot in the wind, and of course the dragonflies themselves are moving around, so it's going to be quite interesting to see the amount of detail I can see on these when I get to review my final images. I moved on and found a number of small birds to photograph. The lens performed really well. In partnership with my camera, I was able to quickly focus on the small birds, and the resulting images show all the small details in my subjects. So for my photography, I enjoy using back button focusing. It's something I've always used for many years. And a feature that I'm quite enjoying on my new lens are these focus control buttons. There's 4, I believe, around the front of the lens here. So you can put your hand at the front of the lens. I'm personally keeping my left thumb in one of these buttons, and I can use it for focusing, and I'm simply pressing the shutter release button to take the shot. So I quite like that. It's quite a comfortable way to hold the lens. And obviously if you put the camera in vertical or portrait orientation, there's buttons that's going to be in the right place for that as well. So that's a nice feature that I'm enjoying. Anyway, I've been at this little opening here for quite a while, and there's a large number of birds over at the far side of this water, and I've been hoping something would come past here so I could experiment, try and get a bird in flight. There's been a few gulls and so on, but as I was looking for birds in the air, I just noticed, I believe it was a mother duck and her young, just went past just beside these reeds here. So I didn't have the camera configured optimally in terms of settings for that, but I quickly tried to get a shot, and I think I got something half decent. Because of how close they were in my settings, I wasn't going to get the mother and baby both in focus, and unfortunately I didn't get, I don't think, the perfect separation between the two, but it was just an opportunistic shot. So I'll show you that one and then it's time to move on. This is the shot I took of the 2 passing mallard ducks. With my camera and lens configured for capturing birds in flight, I'm actually really pleased I was able to react quickly and focus on the adult bird and get a shot. I was shooting through some reeds and foliage with very little time to react. I'd have liked a little more depth of field to get the young bird completely sharp. The light isn't perfect, but it's one of my favourites from the day. That's because it tells the story of the day. The effect of the strong wind can be seen on the water, the reeds, and the adult bird's feathers. The mother and her young braved what would be quite tough conditions for them, and I'm pleased to have captured this moment. I was ready and hoping to capture some birds in flight, and while I did, unfortunately I didn't see anything close enough to make for an interesting photograph. However, I'm showing this image, which is one of my test shots. I was tracking these incoming mallard ducks at 600mm with the aperture set to f8, which is as open as the lens allows at that focal length. The ducks were a long way off, and I took this image using a high ISO. I've done minimal editing on this one, but I'm pleased with the level of detail I've been able to capture. It's proving to be a very challenging day for wildlife photography. The light is quite changeable, so always keeping an eye on my settings, changing those as necessary. And the wind has picked up even stronger. There's a very strong breeze blowing around today, and it's making life difficult for the wildlife as well as myself as the photographer. But chances have been limited, or opportunities have been limited, but I have seen a few things and I managed to grab a few shots. It's my first day with the lens, so I'll show you what I've managed to get. And I've also found some areas where there's been some bird nests as well, and that's given me a good opportunity to test out the lens, take a few images and review the image quality of those once I get home. So I'll show you what I've been able to capture so far. I'm really pleased with this shot of a young great spotted woodpecker. I like the pose of the bird and the light. It was a fleeting moment and the lens has helped capture great detail on the bird. One of the things I enjoy most about wildlife photography is being able to observe at distance whatever I am photographing and observe its behaviour without disturbing the bird or animal. I spent some time watching this male greenfinch and I quickly learned he loved his food and he was very protective over it, often trying to scare off the other birds who wanted some food as well. I was keen to capture a photograph to show this behaviour, and I'm quite happy with this attempt which shows the wary approaching bird. Although the light faded and conditions became overcast, I am pleased with the last two shots that I captured. While using fairly high ISO values, I was delighted to get shots of both a female adult great spotted woodpecker and also a young great spotted woodpecker. It was a nice finish to the day. So that's going to conclude my first outing with the Fuji XF 150 to 600mm lens. It's my very first test of the lens and I'm not going to be able to test everything about the lens fully today. So I've managed to take some static birds. There wasn't a great opportunity to do a lot of testing for birds in flight. I saw a few gulls and so on, but nothing that interesting, and to be honest not a lot of opportunity for that. But having reviewed my images in camera at the moment, I'm quite pleased with the look of them, but obviously the ultimate test will be when I review those at home. Bear in mind for this video you'll be seeing it, or the video and the images, at a lower resolution than I will be, and it will also have went through a couple of levels of compression, so you're never going to see the images in the quality that I will. But I'll put up a little bit of text at the end of this video just giving my thoughts on the images once I've been able to review them at home. The build quality of the lens seems really good. It feels sturdy, it feels robust, and the zoom ring feels nice. I haven't done any manual focusing today, but the aperture ring is nice. There's a nice subtle soft click to it which I quite like, and as I say, the zoom ring is nice as well. So far so good. I'm really pleased with the lens, what I've been able to test today. I've found it's been able to focus quite quickly using the XT3 on static subjects, and I think on the limited opportunity that I had for birds in flight it did a pretty good job. I suspect slightly better than my XF 100 to 400mm lens did, but that's not a scientific test by any means. That's my first impressions based on what I've done today. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch, and if you're interested in seeing my further outings with this lens, I'll be doing more wildlife photography and I'll also be using it for landscape photography as well. So if you're not yet subscribed and you'd like to see that, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one.